Thank you so much for the kind words. When I got to know that I was ought to speak to an audience, I felt it would be significantly smaller because I'm generally extremely shy speaking to a large audience, not a very good orator myself. So before I came here, I respect and I look up to Ankur Wariku, who runs Groupon India. So I was looking at one of his videos. So I was just trying to make sure that, one of his public speaking videos so that I get inspired to come in and speak and know how cool it is to come in front of such a great audience. You know what his speech started with? It said, there are more number of people in the world who are willing to die than to come in front of more than 100 people and speak. So I was like, inspiration right off the door. But anyway, I'll try to do a good job to try and speak and tell a little bit about my story. I don't know how exciting or interesting would be, but whatever it is my story of how we've built this company to where we have. So the first slide talks a little bit about having a lot of fishes, and there's one fish which is traveling the other way. I've been different through my childhood. I was born in a very small town in the southern half of Orissa, which a lot of people don't know about. More than 80% people below poverty line. It was extremely tough. I did not have a lot of friends as a part of my early childhood, but reality was I tried to look at the other way. I felt it was so exciting. So I started doing very early in my childhood things that were extremely different. So all the way from writing lines of code which made me feel that I could do things that I wanted to instead of things that people wanted me to do. So for example, whenever I would write code, I knew that I could create stars on the screens or men walking on the screen, but if I wanted to run the television, I could not because there would be some elder who would run it. So I felt this was a very cool way of being able to do stuff that you wanted to. All the way from this to selling SIM cards. Like I did everything that was different as a part of my childhood. What it made sure was I tried to do things that were different as I grew up as well. So post my 10th grade, a lot of people from the place where I grew up, if you're reasonably well off, they go out of the city because it's very difficult to sustain a place because it's very Naxal infested and so on. So I got the opportunity to come to the northern half of country. Because I was in Orissa, I had the opportunity to go to the best coastal areas in town, right? I went to Gopalpur, Puri, and all the areas all the way, in the entire coast of Orissa to West Bengal to Andhra Pradesh. This was my opportunity to look at the hills. So when I came out to the northern half of the country, every weekend I would take a Volvo bus and go to Himachal Pradesh, Uttaranchal, Jammu and Kashmir, and so on, and spend weekends in those places. And I felt it was so exciting. My budget of pocket money was very limited. So because of which, at more often than not, the only way to find accommodations was trying to search for travelers' blogs, was trying to use locals to connect me to the local landowners, and so on. Which is when I realized that there is a large opportunity for people like us who travel to various places to have accommodations to stay in. On the other side, there's a large supply that is available out there, which is not available on any platform, but it's available in those locals, right? There are properties that sell for $10 a night, which are among the best properties nationally. So I felt there's a large problem to be solved both from the consumer side and the demand side, which is why we launched Oravel. Oravel, as many of you would know, as a past story, it was very small by the time we pivoted it. It was very similar to Airbnb of India, where we basically would connect travelers to hotel and service apartment owners. Now, what was quite funny is when I started this, there were two things that happened. One, I launched the platform. This was towards the mid part of 2013, early part of 2013. So when I launched the platform, on one side, I let consumers book accommodations online. While on the other hand, what was also happening was I used to wake up every day and stay in a new bed and breakfast. I would literally write emails to every bed and breakfast owner or service apartment owner's email ID that I had scraped online, asking them if they could let me stay for free. Very little people let me stay for free. Many others asked me money. All the savings I had through this period, I spent on just staying in this more than 100 bed and breakfast, serviced apartments, and so on over this period of 6 months. Now, at that point of time, a lot of people would have said you've gone bonkers, that you have a little bit of savings, you're staying halfway across your house, which is in Orissa, and you're spending all your money on just holidaying and staying in various hotels across the northern half of the country. I think that was the most important and the best learning part of my life. Because as we were building Oravel, there were struggling times that came up. And if you see what the image displays, and this is a part of our culture commandments at a lot of levels, there's a circle, and our socket is actually a square, and hence both don't fit, which in jargons is called the product market fit. One, because I was staying in so many properties, I went broke, and had to stay, and for a long time I slept on stairs in the same property where I was actually staying. My family was well off. It was not as if my family could not help me when I was in those bad times. But the problem is, if I had picked up the phone, being 18 years old, and told my family, guys, I'm broke, the first thing they would have told me is come back home. And as an entrepreneur, and we have many of you out here equally and more successful, you would know when you really want to create something, it is the last thing you want to do is basically stop it midway and go back. So I desperately wanted to at least give it my best, and I knew I had not given it all. At the same time, the problem solution, which is what I was mentioning in a circle and the square format, we heard consumers who were staying with us, and for myself as one of the persons traveling, I realized that the problem of discovery of accommodations was a very small problem. Already you can find a lot of hotels and guest houses online. The problem was in predictability. If I were to just give you a jigsaw of experiences, what I came up with, consumers would say, guests would say they would book the hotel online, call the hotel owner after landing, and the hotel owner won't pick up the phone. Reach the hotel, there's no signage. Go inside, the receptionist is sleeping topless. You get into the bedroom, mattresses are torn. Sockets are not working, water's leaking, breakfast has worms, all sorts of issues, right? I said I want to fix predictability. Globally, this was never done. Nobody, which was a tech brand, went out and said, we will fix predictability in a space which has there are many moments of failure, right? It is not like a cab where just the time of arrival is the only point of failure. Here, the point of failure are more than 100 points, all the way from signage outside the hotel, all the way down to the television and the socket that's connecting the television, and so on and so forth. At the age of 19, one thing was very clear to me. I did not want to build anything that was one more business. I wanted to create something that created a real impact. And if I lost out, I had a great learning. Because if I had to create a business, I could have done it anyway through my life. Right? Which is when we said we'll fix predictability. If it meant that I will run just one hotel in this country, I will not build something that 1,000 people kind of like. We'll build something that 5 people will fall in love with. Which has led to, during this process, which also led to becoming a TL fellow. I don't know how many of you would know, Peter started a company called PayPal, one of the earliest and the largest shareholders in Facebook, and a bunch of these high-quality companies. He runs a program called the TL Fellowship, where he gives $100,000 to 20 people under the age of 20. The acceptance rates are lower than Ivies, but the catch is you have to drop out of college. I felt this was amazing, that you get paid not to go to college. Became the first Asian resident to become a TL fellow. And this was a second big thing in moving me towards this matrix. Because when I went there, there were 2 big things I learned. One big thing was being able to do innovative things. That is, you don't need to be doing something that is an Indian product or something that is created in a different part of the world to be able to build it into a large scale. And second, if you're thinking anyway, think extremely big, because there's anyway time and effort going in thinking, right? So think huge. At that point of time, I used to say I wanted to build one more online business in India, and today we say we aspire to be the world's largest hotel brand, not India's. We are already India's largest hotel brand. And that kind of aspiration has led to starting of OYO Rooms. The way we started was very funny. We took just one hotel where I was staying in this 3 months, and which was almost empty all the time. And the hotel owner said, Ritesh, you know what, this is empty all the time. Do whatever you need to do, but get me some returns because I have a factory to run in Rajasthan. And that's, by the way, 80% of the unbranded hotel owners' backgrounds. They earn a lot more money by doing something else, and the hotel is just an additional side earning, right? I said, I will standardize this property and I will make a lot of money for you. He said, Ritesh, you know what? You want to take your brand, you want to do standardization, do whatever you want to. I make no money today. Whatever I make, that is an incremental revenue for me. In 10 months, while operating that hotel, we innovated how global hospitality is today being copied from out here in India. And I'll give you some very anecdotal evidences of those. We launched the tablet at our hotels where every check-in, 100% OYO's check-ins happen via the tablet. I'll come to the advantages of that. It is very similar to how the Ola's driver side app works. Every time you get into the car, it says, pick me now, by means of which you know which lat long, what time, which kilometer was the customer boarded and what time he checked out. We also audit our hotels every 3 days by a geolocation app which gives us real-time pictures of a room. So we can literally merge feedback of guests staying in room number 103 who checked in via the tablet, along with the feedback of our audit manager who had gone to room number 103, along with the audit request that he came up with. These were and many other things on the technology side. But businesses in India, especially experienced businesses, are not built just on technology. They're built on real human values. So we did something very, very interesting on the ground. And again, one more anecdotal evidence. For every floor in a hotel, all the variables, that is toiletries, linen, notepads, pens, water bottles, etc., takes 10 minutes to be kept at various places because toiletries need to be kept at the washroom, pen and paper need to be kept at the corner of the other side of the room. We said it doesn't need to be done. We were much smaller hotels. We basically did something very small. We brought small bags, and in those bags we kept toiletry items, pens, pads, water bottles, etc. And we said every time you check in, we'll give you that back. So now 2 people can manage 2,000 rooms versus 4 people managing 30 rooms earlier. So these were some, and we've done more than 40 things like this, where we literally said, we will enable our hotel owners to save 30% and they will make 3 times more money. So our hotel owners make more money. Our consumers have a predictable guest experience, so it's great for them. And if both of them earn money and save money, we'll also end up making money. As a part of which, today we've been able to create disruption in a space which globally does not have technology at any level. Today, more people tell us, and I was speaking about this right outside, more people in India say we want to be the OYO for real estate, OYO for Kirana stores, than saying we want to be the Uber for one of these things. In this process, a big learning for us is disruption doesn't need to take others' business. Disruption can also be solving large problems. We actually went out to all these real estate owners who actually existed out there. We helped them make more money. We went to all of these customers who existed out there and we helped them save money. We went to these travel partners who used to run the largest online travel agents. We helped them with supply. So disruption can actually also happen with a lot of collaboration, and it just doesn't mean that you need to take others' business. You can actually be increasing everyone's business as you build it. After those 10 months, we never looked back. We've raised close to $150 million. We've delivered guest experiences where even today on TripAdvisor, last month's average scores were 4 on 5 for OYO, which means there's still a lot of work to be done. Our benchmark is 5 on 5. But we've been working really hard to ensure we enable every person in this country to have an OYO experience. From the same time last year, 1 city, 37 properties. Today we are in 86 cities and 1,500 hotels across the country and continue to enable more users to have the OYO experience. The media has been kind to us, and the world has known and talked about us at various levels, but we continue to aspire and solve large problems and not remain excited about it. But we're glad we've got some interesting stuff out there. And something interesting is, in India, what we are seeing is, in the western part of the world, there used to be large offline businesses that were disrupted by desktop companies, and then there were mobile companies that are now disrupting them. India, because of the whole geographic spread of various companies. So for example, in India, from Chennai to Tiruvananthapuram, which are not very far from each other, running hotels is a completely different problem. The land laws, the labor laws, etc., etc. So it is unimaginable for a single large corporate brand to run these properties. The largest hotel brand in this country used to operate 10,000 rooms, because it is just very difficult to manage it in such a regional play. We've been able to become the largest hotel brand in a matter of a year and a half, because in India, companies will leapfrog both of this, and mobile companies will become the largest companies of that sector, because we understand that the guy running the hotel understands the labor laws, land laws better than anyone else. What our job is to ensure great guest experiences and ensure that we bring more demand to them so that the market continues growing. Now, all of this sounds like a flowery story, right? It sounds like everything just happened overnight. Not really. It doesn't happen overnight, and it was a lot of hard work. It was And I would be kidding myself if I said I was responsible for this. The people responsible for this are the people back there at offices driving some unbelievable stuff as a part of our team. We have been able to successfully create among the best teams in the startup atmosphere in this country, all the way from the person who launched 2 of the 3 warehouses for Amazon in India, to among the 5 people who sold SlideShare to LinkedIn, to the person who was a director of Make My Trips, products on flight side, runs products for us. That is something that I deeply and the company deeply cares about, and that's the reason we've been building and we continue to build what we build OYO towards. Now, what have been my learnings? I spoke a little bit about this earlier, but I think I'll just take an extension that as a part of a startup that I have seen any successful company around ourselves, we don't consider ourselves successful, we still believe there's a long way to go. But as we build ourselves, our belief is one of the biggest reasons why startups become important and valuable is great teams. So I'm assuming a lot of other entrepreneurs will share the same values, that is saying building great teams and enabling independence to execute is a big part of running a great company, and that is something that we deeply care about. Going forward, we aspire to build from India's most loved hotel brand in the next couple of years to, in the next 5 to 10 years, probably the world's largest hotel brand. I'm very happy to say that already we have copycats of OYO in other countries. There's an OYO for Thailand now, there's an OYO for Brazil now, those have launched in the last couple of months. So we probably will be, and we aspire to be, one of those companies that will be a real Make in India company that goes out and solves the problems for the world, instead of being a global company that comes back to India and solves problems for Indians. Thank you.